All right, welcome to day 14, and we're cooking again. Day 14 of my Advent event extravaganza. We're cooking again. Tonight is the long-awaited how did the mince pies turn out. In addition, because I'm not a huge mince pie fan, my favorite is chess pies, but with a twist. And this is a weird thing, and my Aunt Sally will probably let me know because chess pies are one of her favorites. I recall from my childhood that there was coconut in the chess pies. However, I've just looked at this recipe and there is no coconut in the chess pies. So what does Tina do when she remembers coconut being in the pies? I'm going to add it to the ingredient list. I will also put this recipe down below. And I have been forgetting on these, but definitely if you have not yet followed us in YouTube, which has its own name, can't remember what it is, but do that please, and ring the bell so that you get notified every time there's a new movie. I'm doing these every day up until Christmas, and then we'll probably drop back to once a week or twice a week, depending upon what schedule Kelly and I can do. Just so you know, there's all kinds of knitting, crochet, spinning videos that Kelly has uploaded. They're not infoed yet, but we're working on that. So tonight, I'm going to start with the filling. Just a minute, I have to cough. Tonight we're going to do the chess pies first, and I'm going to start with the filling, and then we'll go on and do the crust, and then both of these fillings, this one and the mince pies that you've already seen, or if you haven't seen that, go look. I'll link it into the video. Probably, I think it goes there or there. I'll link you to the mince pie because we made from scratch mince pies, and it's still percolating in the fridge with its Oregon brandy and its fresh fat. So this recipe, no fat in this recipe. Well, there's fat, but it's the good kind of butter. All right, so I need 3/4 of a cup of butter, and this has not been softened, so I'm going to grate this up. Because honestly, these chess pies, when you look at the ingredients, they're kind of like a mince pie, only less percolating and more raisins and nuts. And in our case, coconut as well. So I'm just going to chop this up into bits. It will probably soften quicker this way as well. But I'm going to chop it into the mix. So there's my 1/4 cup. We opened this up and discovered that we're used to getting 2 cups per package, and the package we bought this time only had 1 cup. So it's going to require... We're on a butter run before we do our next, before we do the pie crust. So I'm gonna just, using my knife, chop this up into smaller bits. It just needs to be blended in. Chop it up, bits. Just like any fruit pie, honestly, you put butter in it. This one has quite a bit more than your average. It's going to have a little bit of a custard base because there are also 3 eggs in this. So, chopped up butter. It's giving me some resistance. I may use my cutting board here. There. All right. Butter is chopped up in the bowl. Like that. And my fingers are buttery, so I'm going to give them a wash. I don't know if you can see behind me, but back on the back counter here, we have our ever-growing pile of cookies. We've had an ingredients pile over here, and then back here is where the cookies have built up. And we've started packing the tins to send off to the grandkids and friends. The ones that have to be mailed off are the ones I'm the most, and I'm off over here just opening another package of pecans. I'm the most anxious to get going, so my grandkids in Spokane are going to get the first outgoing tote, and maybe an aunt or uncle as well. All right, butter is in the bowl, chopped up. I now need to add, and this recipe is just not full of information. It's basically a list of ingredients, and it's attributed to its inventor, Mrs. E. Brownell from Pasco. So it either came out of the newspaper in Pasco, or my grandmother was friends with Mrs. Brownell, and they did a recipe exchange. But my grandma used to make this every year at Christmas, and these were my favorite. Although I remember coconut. Don't know if it was there, but mine's gonna have it this time. Okay, butter is in here. I have to chop these nuts, 1 cup of nuts, and I'm using pecans. I'm pretty sure that the nuts were probably walnuts in the pies. I could do mixed nuts. I do have mixed nuts, but I really love pecans, so I'm gonna put pecans in there. And I'm gonna just loosely chop these, not super fine. There. So we've got the first batch. 1 cup is a lot of nuts. But that will fill, well, it says that this requires 3 pie crusts. So I'm guessing that means it's enough to make three pies, although these are minis. So these, like the mince pie style that we do in the house with my husband's used to minis. So I will be making probably 6 pie crusts. 1 to hold all the mince that I have percolating in the refrigerator, and you'll see that here presently. But another batch to do the chest pies. In the meantime, how have you guys been doing in your run up to Christmas? Needless to say, making all these videos, it's kind of curtailed my watching videos. I get to watch, I don't know. Well, I managed to watch Arne and Carlos every day. I haven't knit anything yet, but knit anything off their list. I am talking, I'd love it if you guys in the comments would say, hey, what more crafts do you want to see? Because I was just discussing a hat today. On my list, I did write down a hat or a pair of fingerless mitts that then I show you how to embroider on the top of those. And I can give you the simple hat. I have a recipe for hats that I use, and you can make them fancy or plain. I also have a recipe for fingerless mitts that I use, so I can do that as well. My thought was to do some like stalks of green that I knit in, and then do the flowers and embroidery on top. I do really like to embroider on knits. I enjoy that a lot. I've done a few years ago when I used to participate in the Rose City Yarn Crawl. I did a child's hat with the Portland logo on it that you embroidered on top using a chain stitch. And I sold that hat. I need to make another one. It was an easy little knit. And I think that was a crocheted one. But you could knit just as easy. And then I think we're down to the bottom of our cup. And I very roughly cut. In fact, these are just fine. These are little crumbs in here. All right, there is our 1 cup of nuts. I need half a cup of sugar. That's gonna go in. I need 3 eggs beaten. I need, and I've got this. I need half a cup of milk. And you'll notice we use cream in this house. And, this is the British side. Well, we're gonna use 4 ounces, which is that. So I'd already poured half a cup. Because I'm married to a Brit, we have both US and imperial, because remember pints are different in the UK, and imperial measures plus metric. So it's, sometimes it can get a little confusing pulling things out of the cupboard because we have a mixture of all of the above. Just pour that the cream is a little richer than the other. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mix my eggs in here as well, and that way I can get any of the rest of this out. So 3 eggs beaten are gonna go in. There's 2. And 3. There. Well, see, and now I know why my patterns get so mucky. I just threw egg across the top of them off this recipe. Eating it. 3 eggs in the mix. And then my own personal addition, because this is what I remember, I'm going to put a half a cup of coconut in here. And stir. And blend. Oh, one more thing. Almost forgot. We have, and I weighed them, 1 pound of raisins. And this is more of the mixture of raisins that I got in California from Palm Springs. They're a golden raisin and I believe they're called rose raisins or rose glow raisins. So we're going to add that into this mix as well. So soon on to the pie crust, even though I'm going to finish mixing this and let it rest. And then we'll cut for the pie crust. But I have looked at a lot of mince pie recipes. This, I know for a fact, was in the same pie crust that my grandmother made always. So just a regular savory pie crust. Some of the mince pie recipes call for a sweetened pie crust. I am not going to do that. Mostly because I know darn good well that filling is plenty sweet. And I think part of what makes a nice sweet item good is to have a little bit of contrast as salt. So my pie crust is going to just be my standard shortcut, my standard regular pie crust recipe with butter and salt. No sweetener added. All right, this is going to go aside to sit, and mostly I'm anxious to see the butter soften a bit. But there is our filling. There's some bits of lumps of butter, so I'll definitely give this a stir again before I load it into the pie crusts. But that is the filling for Tina's chess pies, or my take on chess pies. We'll see you in a bit for crust. So, pie crust. I have taken, and I am making enough pie crust for a 2-crust pie. These 2 recipes will require more than that. I estimate this is a 3 pie crust. And then in the refrigerator, I think that is 3 or 4 pie crusts. But I'm going to start with 2. I never make more than a 2-crust pie at a time, mostly because cutting in the butter alone is quite labor intensive. So even if I have to make this pie crust 3 or 4 times, I'm better off doing 2 at a time. So for this recipe, and some of you, there's a lot of discussion about pie crust. This is how I've always done it, and it comes out really nice for me. My husband does a different method. He does the Julia Child method. You need 2/3 of a cup of butter, and this is salted butter, but I do add in just little, like 2 pinches of extra salt. Normally it would be a teaspoon with unsalted butter, but I know this is salted. It's sea salted, in fact. So I just put a little bit in the bottom of my hand and added that in as well. We need 2 cups of flour, so that's here. And I'm going to put that in. And again, remember, like the sugar cookies, you cut it in with the pastry cutter, and the more time you take with this part of the process, I have a dog, the greyhound, who has just decided he wants to sit between me and the countertop and rest. The more work you do, and if you look in the background, you'll see him wandering in and out. The more work you do now, the better your pie crust will be. So we're going to cut in this butter into the flour until it's pea-sized bits. And it's kind of hard to explain that, but what happens is the flour blends in with the butter and you end up with bits of butter that are pea-sized. I try to go on the side of small pea-sized, like spring peas, instead of August or end of June peas. So the more you do this now, the better off your pie crust will be in the end. Just cut, and twirl it around, getting all those big bits. Pre-cutting the butter helps a lot. We want this butter to stay cold. And before I roll it out, I'm going to put it back in the fridge and let it get cold again. Because you want this butter to sort of striate in the crust. It'll make it flakier. I was raised on Crisco pie crust. I no longer use Crisco, like we said in one of the earlier videos. It's just not good for you. So butter it is. I wouldn't mind trying a lard pie crust. I hear that if you mix butter and lard that you get a flakier crust. It would be interesting to try, but I haven't. I just went to full butter. Here, I'm going to take my knife. We have some escapee butters who are hanging at the top. So I'll get those incorporated in. More time here pays off later when we add our liquid and roll this out and incorporate it. And now a little bit more. This butter's being a little wily here. It's unlike last night when I was doing the sugar cookies. It was behaving. Put this in a mixer or in a food processor. Again, I guess you could. I just hate to develop any gluten in the flour because gluten is your enemy on a pie crust. Alright, I think that's satisfied with that. So see here, we've got a few big pieces, but most of it's very crumbly. Just going to get a couple of guys that surface. Again, baking a two-crust pie lengthens this. Alright, there we go. The biggest bit is about a pea size. There's a lot of smaller bits. Alright, now cream instead of water. This recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of water on paper. I've always used cream, so cream it is. And you know, everything's better with cream. There, and then I'm going to grab a fork just to get it started. My hands will go in eventually to press this together. But I'm just going to distribute just briefly the cream in here, and then I'll put my hands in and start making a ball. There. Good. Okay. And if I may need a little bit more cream, I will try that here in just a minute. Looks like it's going to take a little bit more cream. Don't want to jump the gun though. Too much liquid can cause another problem. So. Makes it sticky. Yep, a little bit more cream. Let me grab it. Just a little bit more. Maybe another tablespoon is what I want in there. Humidity in the air can change how this works, as can elevation. Not that my elevation's changed since the last time I made a pie crust, but the humidity definitely has. I think it'd be more, but maybe not in winter. I think the last pie I made was blackberry season, so I made a blackberry pie in August. Okay, there we go. Alright, I'm going to dump this out now. It's still, it's still very separate, but if I just massage it a little bit, it will form a crust. or bowl. Get this guy here. Still, I may go back to water. I may get a little water in here, I think. Just because the cream is defying me. Just a little bit of water. Much happier. That's better. And it is a touch thing, definitely. There. Just that little bit of water made all the difference. That's another thing that changes with the seasons is how much fat is in your cream. There we go. That will do it. All right, I'm gonna put this in the fridge and let it firm up again. There. And some saran wrap. So let me grab that saran wrap. Ooh, you get to see me wrestle with saran wrap. Not my favorite thing to do. You'd think in a lifetime of fighting with saran wrap. Ooh! Hey, I'm on a roll. It is an unusual event for me to have it come off that easy. There. I'm just going to get the rest of this crummy stuff. There. All right, into the fridge until it's time to roll it out into our little turtlets. So, after a rest in the refrigerator, my 2-crust pastry is rested and chilled. Sprinkling flour on the counter. Flour is your friend now. Not long term, but for now. And like I said before for the sugar cookies, I cannot tell you how much I love the marble rolling pin. It helps put weight on it that pushing just doesn't do. All right, opening this. Oh, and I'm going to break it in half just because it's easier to roll out. And we really want a square on this one, but because we're going to cut out little tarts. So I'm going to roll this out. Still a bit dry, but I think it'll be fine. Better a little dry than a little wet. It's compressing nicely. Careful. And if that happens, if you get any grabbing, just grab some more flour. Also, this is a bit sensitive, so I'm not going to flip it. Normally I would flip it, but instead I'm just going to sprinkle some flour on top. Try not to over roll. Just get it as thin as possible, as quickly as possible. Again, the reason I like this marble is it puts weight on there and speeds up that process. Now, I'm going to use this to put into our muffin tins. Oh wait, one more spot. We're going to have to cut this out. Oh yes, this is the one. Oh good. This is my grandmother's Yorkshire pudding pan. Right here.
No, muffin tin.
No, it's not. See how deep it is?
Oh.
It's not deep. Because you want things to climb up. Now, good thing. So, we're going to use this size flour to fit into my grandmother's with a little bit of schmutz on it. Because, you know, old dishes have stuff on them. But this is shallower than a regular muffin tin. You can use a muffin tin. I just happen to have this, so I'm going to use it. And I'm going to cut out this little floury size. What is this, about 3.5, maybe 4 inches across. You can use a circle, a bowl. I just happen to have that one, so I'm going to use it. And then I'm going to open. It's so cute! Isn't that adorable? So we're gonna cut out these little flowers. I highly recommend this because it's super cute. I haven't done this in several years. I normally use this for Yorkshire puddings if I'm gonna crack on anything. So I'm gonna cut these out as efficiently as possible. Because really, I don't want to roll this out any more than 2 times if possible. That's it. All right. So just pop your little flowers in, and this little the little floral edge helps you get them in there. It gives in the circle. I've never tried this before, so I'm pretty impressed with how that's working. I'd say it's worth getting these flower shaped ones. Not nearly as labor intensive. All right. I have, so half of a pie dough yielded 2, 4, 6 tart holes. Now I only have enough for 8 per round, so I'm gonna pick these up carefully and not roll them out yet because they're full of flour, and I may just use these for decoration on top. And I'm going to roll out the other half. This looks like maybe I didn't divide it evenly, so we may not get as much out of this one. Over. Just gonna get this together. It's warmed a little bit, so this one will probably be a little bit easier to roll out. And if it's a little too crumbly, just pressing down on the marble rolling pin kind of helps you get started. Center out, center down. This is delicate stuff. And thin is good. Tarts, you have a little more, you can be a little bit thicker, but cut out my circles. There. So we have 8 little tartlets. Now, filling the tartlets. Here, I have the chess pie mixture, and I'll get out, and speaking of which, we put this on rest. I'm going to give it another stir just to, the butter has softened. So I'm just going to sort of give this a nice stir with the fork. Trying to break up that butter just a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to scoop in the chess pie mixture. Well, actually, let's put this aside. Let me show you the,
Did you take out the things before you preheated the oven?
I didn't preheat the oven, so it's
Okay.
fine. Here, let's preheat the oven. I don't have a temp at all on my, it's usually 425, isn't it?
Depends.
Let's preheat the oven to 425 and then give just a few minutes, and then we'll bring it down to 350, watching it.
Take out your pans.
Pull out our pans, because we store our pans in the oven frequently. Push, start. There we go. All right, the oven is preheated. Here is, I didn't have a jar, so I put it in my, actually my sangria pitcher is what became the receptacle for the mince pies. you want to look in there, it looks like mince pies. It smells like mince pies. The only question we have, and if you have an opinion on mince pies, cinnamon, yes or no? I found recipes with no spices added at all. I feel like cinnamon belongs in it. My husband felt like cinnamon belonged in it, but then he changed his mind after a few minutes of discussion. I emailed a friend who is also British, Linda, and she said yes, no, yes, no. So we're going with no. I think when I made the mince, I included the recipe in that video. If not, I'll double check and add it. And it will be attached, like I said before, so you can go find the mince recipe. All right, so I'm going to spoon in about 1/4 cup of chess pie filling. So just about level. We don't want it to overflow because this is going to bubble up and be juicy. In fact, I'm going to just a little less than 1/4 cup. I want it to be just down on the edge. So there. And I'm going to do half and half in here. So I'm going to put half chess pie. Oh, these guys don't want to stick in there. They don't want to stay in. They're coming out at me because the filling is so sticky. So there. And then 1/3. We'll do 4 of each. You can fast forward through this bit while I put this in the fridge. All right. 4 each. So we're putting 4 in. Oh my God, it smells boozy. I don't think it smells boozy, it smells macy. It does smell macy too. All right, there is our chess pie filling. Now, I'm gonna get a new spoon because I'm in it for the chess pies, not the mince pies, so I don't want to infect it with my beautiful chess pies. This is the mince pie filling. Similar ingredients, currants, this has apple and some spices that this doesn't have. This has no egg in it, whereas the chess pies have egg. So I think theoretically we should get a little bit more custard. There's no booze in the chess pies. There is plenty of booze. Although I did find recipes that said you could put vinegar in instead. There. 2, 3. There's some suet. I see suet. It'll melt away. Well, this will either be a hit or a miss. I saw a currant go. It's just a bit of currant. There. There. All right. There's our mince pie. And I'm going to grab the currants that went flying as I was working on this. All right, and then I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to cut out a little decorative top. And let's put this back on. Oh, wrong lid. I have, well, we have a choice. We can do a flower or we can do just a teeny tiny star. And I'm leaning towards the stars. But maybe I'll do a mixture of both. We'll see. So this is why I've left these little leftovers and I did nothing with them but moved them aside. Because now I have a little place to make, I have to use a knife to poke this out. This is not a, oh, that didn't work out well. These are not very nice cookie cutters. Okay, we're gonna use the little flower.
What if you just kept cutting and let them stack up inside?
I don't know. I'll let you play with that. Handy dandy assistant Grayson is going to play with one and see if they can get the stars to come out.
These are not very nice.
No, they're not very nice. Honestly, I purchased these for needle felting. And I did use them on a US flag I made once from scratch. But metal works much better for actual cutting.
Back when we learned about one.
Worked great for needle felting though, just as a heads up. Go look at plastic cookie cutters.
That totally works.
Oh, stacking them up works? But look, I like the little flower.
Oh, look.
Oh, all right. So you just keep pushing them in and they push themselves up. We have little stars. There. 3 per pie, maybe?
You have to put stars on the mince pie.
Why? Because Linda does?
Because there are stars on the Walker's mince pie.
Oh, are there stars on the Walker's mince pie?
Aren't there stars punched out of the top?
I have no idea. I do know that my grandmother never put anything on the chess pies, but I'm going to because I do remember sometimes the raisins would get just a little dark, and I think a top will help.
These are too thick, I think is the problem.
There. Oh, they're very cute. Well, if you can give me 3 more stars, I'll put them on this last mince pie. Oh, well, you've got like several stars. Okay. I'll put 5 stars on that mince pie and 5 stars on this mince pie. And then I'll show you the camera. I'll show you what we have. And we'll put them in to bake.
Oh, another one in there.
Well, we only need 5. So I just need one more.
Stuck.
Well, that's when I put the knife in, it just broke. There. All right. There we are in front of the camera. There we go. We have mince pies with stars, mince pies with little flower tops. I'm going to just press them down so they're firm. And we're going to put these in the oven at 425, and I'm going to keep a sharp eye on them because we want them to brown a little bit. But, and I happen to have in my oven a pizza stone that I just leave in there all the time. U.S. stoves are notoriously hot spotty. We don't have a convection oven. I did once have a convection oven, but we moved. We no longer have it. So doing putting a pizza stone in there can help to even out the heat. And so we just, in addition to that, we had nowhere to put the pizza stone. So it just lives in there and it works out quite well. And I'm gonna just cut some more pie crust in preparation for when these are done. And we can get them in there. I need once a year, or once every few years, because I don't do this every year, I need more than 1 muffin tin. And today is the day that I probably need more than 1 muffin tin.
I have the other one.
And it's not here. There, I've got 3 more cut out of that. We are going to, I barely put a dent in this filling. So we're going to be making pie crusts in iterations a few times. This can continue to be our decoration cutout. I'll taste my crust, because normally I do. Hey, it tastes good. Right amount of salt, because I was guessing given that I had salted butter. Is that salted butter?
Yep.
Okay. Then I know exactly what to do. So that's it. We'll come back again when the pies are done, and we're gonna carry on, Grayson and I, making pie crust, rolling it out, and then doing this again, eating the scraps, because we do love I'm trying only to eat the ones that are too small.
Love a good pie crust scrap.
We do love a good pie crust scrap. So we'll come back at the end when it's done.
Then you know it's Christmas when the snow starts to fall. Then you know it's Christmas for the children above all. Then you know it's Christmas 'cause Santa's on his way. We're standing